Do you hear that, little Yashiro? Where is that loud motorbike coming from?
Oh, that's not a motorbike. That's one of my brethren, Beru. He has been sent here to Earth by another brethren, Zoe, to do an extensive research about one of Earth's greatest inventions. I believe it is what Earthlings call lasers.
Real?
Oh, well, aren't you just the sweetest little furball?
He's known to have the softest tummy in the universe too, Mommy Yoshika, and he loves belly rubs.
Real?
Oh, Bear said he is done with his research and that our brethren Zoe was right about this planet. The Earthlings are an endless source of treats and cuddles. Hee 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 hee. I have to agree.
Do you think you can stay just a bit to say hi to our audience?
Real?
Oh, he said he would love to. His favorite hobby now is listening to the Doki Doki Reading Club recordings with Zoe in their purship.
Splendid! Now, our faithful listener, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more purrs and readings.
Oh, Bear said that he loves the audience, especially his mommy. He'll watch over her in his purship in all of her other lives.
Real?
Oh, and he wants everyone to cuddle with their number one friend because it's time to Adashima and chill.
Chapter 1 White Stars in the Black Night. Multitude of reasons. Multitude as in various or many. Like the number of reasons why I was now sitting here grasping Adachi's right foot. The sound of cicadas crying outside flowing through the windows and the floorboards like a ceaseless stream. There was a clock on this shelf, and each tick of its hand sounded as loud as an explosion. I could see the very specks of dust dancing in the air around us. All of my senses had been sharpened to their limits. Yet, my mind itself remained clouded behind a thick layer of fog. Adachi had come to visit me at home to plan our upcoming trip. After a series of events, this was how it ended up. What were those events, and how had they led to this? I honestly couldn't recall any longer. Perhaps the heat of the summer had melted away my common sense. In case you're curious, the name of the game we were playing currently was Make your opponent blush by kissing them anywhere but on the lips. Whoever was able to make the other person blush more will be crowned the winner. You can also score bonus points for choosing a particularly unexpected spot for your kiss. How exactly unexpected was defined was up to the players. So far, I was winning by a lot. What did you get by winning? A whole lot of warm and heat, mainly. And then, with my eyes still on Adachi's right foot, I began to wonder where I should strike next. We had reached the point where even the soles of her feet were glowing bright red. Not that I ordinarily spend a lot of time observing people's souls. I really did not. But it did make me wonder if hers were always like this when we were together. If they were, that would be quite incredible, wouldn't it? I had already been feeling this way for a little while now. But the way she was helplessly railing in front of me, it kind of made me feel like I was doing something bad. What are you thinking, Adachi?
Huh? About what?
Her ears reminded me of the wings of a bright red butterfly. It was like something from a painting. Hmm, what if I kiss them? Oh, but will that count? Weren't the ears a pretty common place to kiss? Hmm. That designation was, of course, entirely subjective, which is why the rules of this game hadn't made much sense to begin with. Then again, as long as it was fun, who cared? If anything, personally, I found that the lack of precise rules only added to the enjoyment. You will have thought that her face will get her after all this time spinning her eyes around. Yet, Adachi's expression showed no signs of dying. Was it because whenever I wasn't around, she was saving up her energy? That must have been it.
Hmm.
Hmm?
Are you looking forward to the trip, Adachi?
I decided to bring the conversation back to its original topic. It had only been, what, 3 minutes since then?
The trip?
That deflated reaction of hers made me think back to our days in high school.
Yeah, I am.
She mumbled, all the while lifting her chin up like a drowning person gasping for air. It might not have sounded like it, but it was clear to me that she only truly meant what she said. Perhaps the air here on the second floor was too thin for her? I fixed my eyes upon her lower lip, as well as the tip of her tongue as it made its occasional appearance.
I'm looking forward to it too. A trip with Adachi. It has a nice ring to it.
Shimamura.
Yes, Shimamura at your service.
I responded in a cheeky tone of voice. I was starting to feel strange, but let's blame that on the summer heat, shall we? After all, this was but another aspect of the summer. The heat and cicadas might have been a constant, but in many other aspects, each summer was unique from the last. Even now that I was spending mine with Adachi, that really still held.
Nothing.
In the span of time we had spent staring at each other, a cup of shaved ice had melted down into a syrup-covered puddle. Not that we were actually eating any shaved ice, rather, that was the kind of image Adachi's voice brought to my mind.
I know what you want to say, Adachi.
Really? You do?
Of course.
I did not. Plus, even if I did, I bet it wouldn't be all that interesting. As for Adachi, she placed her hands on her cheek, somehow even more red than before. It appeared that whatever it was, me supposedly knowing about it was thoroughly embarrassing for her. We'd grown up, calmed down, and yet, when it was just the two of us, she will still make the same face as she had all those years ago. It was really a virtue of hers. Really? That's how I wanted to put that? There was no need for such overcomplicated expressions here. Let's just call it what it was. Cute. She was so cute. As if to match the sound of the cicadas starting to grow distant. A wave of memories from years gone by came rushing over to me. The wave was tall, powerful, and grabbing not just by my ankles, but my knees as well. Shivering at this sudden sensation of cold, I squinted my eyes at the vast ocean before me. Images of each of my previous summers reflected upon its surface, like stars against the night sky. You could stare at them from the beach, yet they were far too distant to swim to. Nothing was more far away than the past.
Shimamura.
Adachi mumbled after a while. Right. I suppose I was still holding her by her foot. The words sensitive and sentimental might have started the same, but they hardly fall under the same umbrella. Adachi and my memories. Attempting to view them both at the same time. All I was able to focus my eyes on was the former. I pulled my hand forward and held it over her face. I could only pray that one day, this image will become part of the sea.
Let's hope so.
What?
Adachi and Shimamura, 22 years old, the perfect age to go on a vacation.
Chapter 2. Never ate.
That's still a thing, huh?
That had been my mom's comment on the subject, making me realize that it perhaps had been quite a while since I last went for a swim at the school's pool. It used to have been my favorite way of spending those long days of summer vacation. The water was cool and refreshing, and I was surrounded by friends. Really, there was no reason for me not to have gone. I put on my swimming suit, followed by my regular clothes, grabbed my pool bag, and then took off running. Not until I'd reached the front door did I stop.
Here I go!
Not without shoes, you don't.
Ah, right. Shoes.
Turned around, retraced my previous steps, and pulled out a pair of shoes belonging to me from the lowest shelf of the rack. I was in the process of putting them on as I realized that I wasn't wearing any socks either. Then again, given that it wouldn't be all that long until I next took them off, I decided to just roll with it. Another thing I noticed as I wiggled my toes around was that not even my shoes had been able to escape the heat of the sun. I guess that was summer for you. My mom, having come to see me off, was currently standing on the opposite end of the front hall with my baby sister in her arms. She had learned to speak quite well recently, and let me tell you, that made playing with her 100 times more fun.
Watch out for strangers in cars, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe this time he'll remember after the first 100 or so steps.
This comment was followed by her squashing my cheeks from both sides at once.
I say that because there's only one way in which you resemble me, and it's that you're a little stupid.
Huh?
A shocking revelation.
I did always suspect that.
That's my daughter.
Just you wait. Next year, I'm turning that little stupid into little smart.
Oh, will you now? Good luck on that then.
With that done, I decided to wish my little sister goodbye as well.
Big sister's gonna go get healthy now.
Were you not already before?
Mom went for my cheeks again, this time pulling on them. My sister, too, tried wiggling her little fingers, though in her case, her arms were far too short to actually reach their target. Still, it looked like she was having quite a bit of fun. That was good. The more fun, the better, I thought.
I wonder if Taru will show up too.
Let's hope so.
Whereas I visited the pool pretty much daily, such was not the case with Taru. Apparently, that was because she was often quite busy at home. What a diligent child for her age.
That reminds me. Turn around.
Giving me no time to do as I was told, Mom grabbed me by the shoulders and forcefully span me around.
Oh, you're not supposed to touch a sleeping person's hair.
I protested.
Then don't sleep standing up.
She clapped back before getting to work on my hair. Her fingers moving nimbly, she first gathered all of my hair into a ponytail and then tied it up with a knot. All this while still using her other arm to hold my sister. That must have taken some serious skill.
There, that should work better against the heat.
I flexed my now exposed ears and was able to make them wiggle a little bit.
Oh, you can do that too? Even the little things carry over, huh? Well, anyway, off you go now.
Bye-bye.
I turned around and, like passing through a glimmering river surface, ran outside. There was no sound, yet I could feel the wave of heat washing over me, wrapping itself around every last part of my body. Summers were always like this. Trying to take the initial steps forward, it felt like I was being pushed down by the sun's shining hand. I spotted a few friends on my way to school, who then joined me. The same thing happened a couple more times, until, soon enough, I had gathered myself quite the party. With me in the front and them following behind me, we went about our march, laughing all the way. Passing by the familiar green fence, we eventually reached our destination. Funny thing about that fence, I'd once tried climbing over it as a dare, only for a teacher to spot me and get really angry. Then, when I told Mom about it later, she acted like someone had just slapped her across the face. I remember her even clapping her hands together to make the sound. Next day, she showed up all giggly and told me it had been easier than she thought. No fair. I passed by an old bronze statue, so ancient that its paint coating had begun to crack and you could see the green metal shining through. I crossed under the roof, connecting the two school buildings, and stepped inside the sports field located in the backyard. There was this particular location where the vegetation had gotten out of control and created a makeshift roof between some iron poles where everyone liked to hang out because it blocked out the sun. And when I looked, I saw that a number of other kids had already gathered there, waiting. Now, I know I just said how popular of a spot it was, but it should also be noted that there were plenty of those who hated it for the occasional caterpillar that would drop into your hair. Those people included Taru. I handed my card over to the teacher, and they put a stamp on it. I'd so far managed to collect every single stamp. Did something good happen if you got all of them? I honestly had no clue. Still, there was something about seeing a previously empty spot get filled out with a stamp that made me feel kind of good. Pool time was split so that each class would have their own swimming period. For me, that meant early morning today. I killed some time drawing circles and crosses in the sand with my friends, and before long, it came time for the warm up exercises. It was a thing that we always did exercises before the pool opened. You could tell the kids who only pretended to do it and those who did it seriously apart based on their postures, and let me tell you, I fell squarely in the latter camp. Why the change of heart, you ask? Because if there was one thing I hated, it was when fun things stopped being fun. It was quite difficult turning something that wasn't fun into something that was. And for that reason, I felt that it was extremely important to value those rare things that were fun from the start.
By the way, I talked to Mom about that a while ago, and guess what she'd said?
I can do that easily.
No fair! While I was exercising, I happened to look behind me and saw Taru there. So she did come today. That was nice. I had lots of friends, but none as close as Taru. Tarumi. Taru? What was her given name again? Given that Taru likewise only ever called me Shima, perhaps she had forgotten mine too. With the exercise now over, both my back and forehead were left dripping wet as if I'd just walked through a shower of rain. I felt hot, so hot, that it wouldn't have shocked me at all had smoke come out when I opened my mouth. And yet, while the others were rushing to be the first to the pool, I instead headed into the opposite direction.
Yo!
Shima!
Taru had been standing at the tail end of our row. He was wearing a yellow shirt, accompanied by a blue pair of pants. I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd seen this combination before, and after eyeing her up and down a couple of times, it finally hit me. She was Nobita from Doraemon, now only if she'd worn glasses.
Meanwhile, Taru was starting to grow visibly awkward. Considerably behind the other kids, we finally entered the changing room. The building was made out of stone, its walls were painted with a dark color, and the air inside it smelled exactly like pool water. With so many people stuffed inside at once, it was also extremely warm. I honestly found it a little difficult to breathe.
Your hair looks really cute today, Shima.
That's it? Hee hee hee. Thanks.
I gave my head a little spin. Actually, not that little. I almost felt dizzy.
My mom tied it for me.
Huh?
As much as I would have liked to keep it, there was no way I could go into the pool like this. The rubber band had come off.
Back to the usual Shima.
Giggling at the sight of me with my hair down, Taru went ahead and took her shirt off. It was a habit of ours to always pick neighboring lockers.
I might not look like it, but I'm actually a different Shima today.
You're really? Like what?
I'm Jungle Shima.
You could practically see a number of question marks appearing above her head. Leaving her to that, I too began undressing. The dressing room was quite a small place, and as such, it was a common occurrence for elbow to end up colliding with multiple people were changing at once. Today was no different. That said, as I'd already put my swimsuit on before leaving, I managed to be the first one out. Hopping over to the floor grates, I left the dressing room behind. Thank goodness! It had been way too hot in there. Still, it wasn't like I could start swimming quite yet. No, I had to wait for Taru first. Waiting for her, the sole of my feet wound up growing uncomfortably warm, and I ended up doing a little jump in place. Even this turned out to be not enough, however, and in the end, I was forced to take refuge near the showers where the floor was covered in nice and refreshing water. There was no need for me to jump in place anymore, but I did it anyway because I liked the sound of it so much. The sun was shining bright above me. I wasn't quite able to put it into words, but there was something about starting right at it that felt me feel really happy. How strange. Sure, the heat kinda burned against my skin, but underneath, I was thrilled. I lowered my head and let the warmth pass through my mouth into my stomach. The warmth did not burn like that of the sun, but instead felt pleasant. With Taru by my side, we went through the showers, disinfected our feet, and then climbed up the stairs. As if being guided on by the constant sound of splashing, we made our way over to the pool side. The kids who had come earlier had formed a line at whose tail we placed ourselves. The way the school pool worked was that the left side was shallow, whereas the right side was deep. The right side was reserved for the older kids. I had on previous occasion crossed over the fence that separated the two sides, but almost immediately turned back once I realized that my feet could no longer reach the bottom. Until I grew taller, I evidently had no business there. Now, as for Taru, she was actually quite a bit taller than me, and I do admit there were times where I found myself thinking that I had to do something about that unless I wanted to be left behind. Right as the water droplet running down my back had begun to dry up, the teacher gave us the order to hop in. As usual, the first part of the course would have us swimming in the day's chosen style. You were only allowed to swim in a straight line, and honestly, I didn't find it all that much fun. Regardless, my turn soon came, and I lowered myself into the pool.
Ah,
There was the sound that wound up leaving my mouth as the water swallowed me up to my shoulder. The pool was like a whole different world, a world where temperature and weight did not matter as they did in ours. Letting my limbs float freely like those of a jellyfish, I was stuck in a deep desire to remain that way forever. However, seeing the kids on both sides of me take off swimming, I figured that I should do the same before the teacher yelled at me. The occasional fist bump notwithstanding, I proceeded to swim in a straight line like the good girl I was. We all did. Why? Because we knew that doing so would make the moment we were all waiting for come sooner. The free time. Once that time did come, the previously calm pool instantaneously erupted into a chaotic spectacle of water being splashed everywhere, as if you'd thrown a steak on a hot pan covered in boiling oil. I too hopped in that, and began splashing about, with Taru following me not far behind. Then, after swimming for just a bit, I decided that this was a good spot, planted my feet on the bottom of the pool, and began launching cowardly chop at attackers coming from me from all four directions. Not that there were any actual attackers, of course. I then proceeded to place my head beneath the surface and start making bubble with my mouth. This quickly caused me to run out of oxygen, and I could almost feel my limbs starting to grow numb. Not wanting to pass out or anything, I quickly raised my head to the surface. It tickled me a little as droplets of water made their way down my forehead. As I was busy doing that, Taru caught up to me and poked at my back with her finger. I turned around, only to find her tilting her head sideways, confused.
Did you forget how to swim or what?
I was imagining what it'd be like if I was being attacked by a bunch of piranhas.
Piranhas are what again?
Scary fish.
Not that I knew much about them myself, other than what I'd happened to see on TV last night.
It's hard for me to picture. I've never seen a piranha.
Here, let me show you.
I formed a pair of fangs with my hand and used them to take a bite out of Taru's arm. Rather than frightened, she just looked confused.
Was that supposed to be a crocodile?
No, a piranha.
I went ahead and ate up the rest of her arm as well. It tasted quite good.
Where can you find a piranha?
In the jungle.
I'd already forgotten the name of the place, but there had been a whole bunch of trees. That much I knew for a fact.
Do you think you're ever gonna go to the jungle?
I well might.
No one knew what life had in store for them. That meant that as long as you set your mind to it, anything was possible. At least, that was what Mom once told me. No idea if it was true or not.
It's at least likelier that I'm gonna go to the jungle and fight piranhas than that I'm gonna meet an alien. Don't you think?
For one, you couldn't breathe in space. It would be like being underwater the whole time. On second thought, that actually sounded quite fun.
When you put it that way, yeah, maybe.
Right? That's why I'm fighting them every day.
Things here move quick with you.
Taru mumbled, before soon cracking a smile.
Well, in that case, if I ever get jungle walking with you, I'm gonna have you deal with the piranhas.
Please do.
I'd catch them alive and cook them like the natives did. Oh, but before that, I needed to learn how to cook fish first.
You can deal with the crocodiles then, Taru. I can hardly wait.
Crocodile seems a bit too tough for even me, which was exactly why I'd leave them for Taru.
Crocodiles?
Shaku!
No! Means shark!
Shaku!
Embarrassed, I buried my head under the water like a shark. What was the word for crocodile in English again? Try as I might, the answer simply did not come to me. I was eventually forced to give up and swim back to her.
Welcome back, Shima.
Brr. My cheeks are...
I pulled myself up from the icy depth. Whatever embarrassment had been experienced earlier, it was long gone now. Judging based on the faint smile that formed on Taru's face, it was clear that she too felt relieved.
Oh, how I wish we could go to the jungle right now.
Wait, what? You actually wanna go?
I'd only been joking about it. There was as many danger as there were trees, and yet Taru didn't seem disturbed in the slightest. She was like a real-life Indiana Jones. Taru had a look around, and with the wave caused by some other kids playing near us crashing against her legs, she cracked a smile as sweet as the sweetest candy.
Because you're there with me.
She was my best friend. No matter what happened, no matter where life took us, that would always, always remain true. I truly, truly believed that. It was simply impossible for me to imagine myself without her. No one could tell the future, but that much was clear to me. With that, I could say yes. I wanted to go too, as long as she was there with me. Like a fierce roar, those feelings surged through me.
Shaku!
Again, that means shark.
Whatever. I proceeded to pounce on her and eat her up 4 times over.
It's strange.
What is?
We'd gotten out from the pool and were now changing our clothes near the corner of the dressing room. There, Taru turned towards me and sniffed the air a few times.
We went to the boat together. It just smelled much more of chlorine.
Chlorine?
It's the stuff they put in the pools.
So that's the secret ingredient.
I had always wondered why it was that pool water tasted so weird. Wiping my hair dry, my eyes came across the rubber band from earlier. I'd had Mom put it on for the way here, but what about the way back? I wrapped the loop around my index finger and spent a moment pondering about this quandary. Well, you didn't know if you didn't try. With that, I grabbed a fistful of my still wet hair, squeezed the remaining water out of it, and slipped it through the band. I feel like I might have been successful had I started lower, but as I had foolishly started near the middle section of my head like Mom had done, I ended up having no such luck. I yanked my hair a bit too hard, resulting in a sharp scream. My scream.
When we did that for you, Shima?
Taru suggested, having witnessed my embarrassing attempt.
You know how to do it?
Sure do.
Well, in that case, please go, go, go ahead.
I don't quite catch you sometimes, Shima.
I handed the rubber band to Taru before turning my back towards her.
Try not to wake me up.
You can sleep while standing.
If I try, then yes. Maybe.
Especially after I'd exhausted myself with swimming. Numerous times had the soap bubble of drowsiness been floating dangerously close to my head, just as many times had I popped it. Meanwhile, Taru had finished tying up my hair. I walked over to the mirror, checked it out, and then turned back towards her. No longer was my hair covering my ears, and I took the opportunity to wiggle them.
It's so nice feeling light in the hair.
Yeah, you look kinda cute.
Mwahaha.
This sudden praise made my cheeks feel all tingly. It was as if her words were tickling my face like the wings of a cicada.
It's kinda slanted to the right. Let me redo it.
No. It's fine. You made it for me, and I'm happy with it.
I sprinted to the side to dodge Taru's hand. As I did so, she let out a soft giggle.
What's so funny?
The way you're running.
What?
I lowered my gaze and saw my arms held out straight in front of me. Was that strange? Well, whatever.
It's the thought that counts.
I pinched my hair, causing water to squirt out. Taru's thought sure was cold. Somewhere between her swimsuit and her regular clothes, Taru too nodded her head. It didn't take us long to finish getting dressed, and we left the changing room behind. I shook my body like a dog after getting its fur wet. It was almost dinner time, and I could practically feel my mind starting to shift to a lower gear. Playing around was fun, but so was this sensation, just in a different way. I wouldn't be lying if I said that I had the most fun when I was doing nothing at all.
Hey, is it okay if I come over later?
You could come right now.
I'd like to, but I need to go have dinner.
Oh, right. Dinner. I should have some too. After that then, okay?
The only thing was that was a little bit of a bummer was that I couldn't take my usual post-lunch nap. Wait, actually, why couldn't I? There was nothing stopping Taru and I from taking a nap together, was there? No, absolutely nothing. Clever me.
I wonder if your little sister will still recognize me.
Doubt it. She sometimes doesn't even recognize me.
Really? I will have bet that you have a very memorable place.
In many ways, she added quickly. I knew exactly what she meant by that. Again, clever me.
Well then, see you later, Shimatrigger.
Later.
We made our way over to the street corner where two large irrigation channels met before parting ways. Watching Taru run off, I began to wonder if I should break into a sprint too. But then I remembered Mom yelling at me before not to run on the street, and decided to go for a brisk jog instead. My shoes were quickly starting to feel all kind of damp, so much so that I couldn't help but wonder if my soles had perhaps begun secreting some sort of a Shima juice. With each step, my legs grew heavier and heavier, but still not as heavy as my eyelids. Perhaps I'd had a little too much fun over at the pool. Those sure were two words that didn't fit in the same sentence. Too much and fun. But in all seriousness, I did need to stay awake. Taru was coming over after all. I opened my eyes as far as they would go. Oof, only to be met by a sharp jolt of pain. This made me feel ever more tired. I shifted my gaze towards the sky, opened my mouth, then took a bite of the unseen. Immediately after chewing and swallowing, I could feel it starting to swell up inside me. We were about to go visit our grandparents soon. Then I'd be able to play with Gon, as well as the girl living next door to them. Summer vacation sure was full of fun experiences, wasn't it?
Oh, how I wish it could go on forever.
Strangest thing about summer vacation was that when it started, it felt like it would never end. Yet, by the time you noticed, it already had. Even if each day felt like the last, there was no denying that I was moving forward. I'd started grade school. Eventually, I'd start middle school, and then after that, high school. If I had to say, I'd say that was probably a good thing. Probably. Definitely. Still didn't mean that I wanted summer vacation to end, though. How philosophical of me. They would come to an end eventually, yet I still hoped that each day would last forever. I had a hard time imagining that there was a single grade schooler out there who didn't feel that way. Walking down the street, there were paddy fields to my left and persimmon farms to my right. Put together, the whole place smelled like dirt. It was there, beneath the burning sun, that my eyes came across a girl walking down the same road in the direction opposite of me. Her skin was pale, so pale that had the sun been any higher, she could have easily blended into the background. Although she looked slightly taller than myself, her hunched posture placed her head lower. She had black, slightly bluish hair, beneath which hid a pair of narrow eyes, as well as a tightly pursed mouth. Nothing about her appearance brought to mind the pool. Given that, it was no surprise that she didn't smell the slightest bit of chlorine either. Her, walking like she was dying of boredom, and me, walking like normal. We passed each other by. I bet that she didn't wish that summer vacation would go on forever. How unusual. It was almost intriguing.
Let's cheer you up.
It was not my intention for this voiceless whisper to be heard by anyone, which is why it startled me so when she turned around. The girl looked confused. Did she think I was trying to start a conversation with her? Though I had no such intention, I could hardly blame her for seeing it that way. With her back now stretched out and a dark shadow cast across her face, she looked almost a year older than me. I waved my hand at her, prompting the girl to turn around and keep on walking. I couldn't tell you exactly why I did it, but I just kept on waving.
Hmm.
You were a bit boring, sure, and yet you made me laugh. I said that I would do it, and I would. Just you wait, strange girl. One day I'd catch up to you.
Chapter 3 Little Ancestor. With the cat singing in the distance, I found my eyes focusing on nothing. For the briefest moment, I felt really free. Well, enough about that. I put on my shoes, lifted my head, and waited for approximately 5 seconds. All I could hear were more cicadas.
Off to the supermarket I go then.
I stated out loud, only for my voice to be met by the sound of footsteps coming from behind me. Behind, but also above.
I shall come with you, Mommy.
A dolphin today, huh?
I turned around and saw an alien dressed up as a dolphin scuttling down the hallway towards my direction. With a leap clearly impossible for any human being to have performed, she then hopped over my head and landed softly in the middle of the front hall.
Put your shoes on first.
Sorry, I went too fast.
The dolphin retraced her steps and slipped on a pair of rubber sandals I bought her a while ago. She wasn't wearing any socks, which meant that her tiny toes were left all exposed. Her toenails were glowing with soft ashen light, and in their shape brought to mind the image of a wave crashing up on the shore. I picked her up, turned her around, and placed her on top of my head. She had a real tendency to run off randomly, this dolphin, and I found this to be the easiest way to keep her in check. Plus, she was so light that carrying her barely took any effort. I suppose that made sense when you thought about it. She was used to floating around in space, so of course she'd be floating above someone's head too.
make sure you hold on tight, okay?
Okay.
I heard a boy riding a dolphin, but never a dolphin riding a woman. There was some premium entertainment right here, I'll tell you what. Immediately as I stepped outside, I could feel whatever hint of refreshing coolness had existed there during the morning being evaporated by the sun's heat. I randomly stuck my index finger out and could practically feel the singing of cicadas being caught on it. With that song came a great number of memories from the summers gone by. It was as if I was staring down a wall of cardboard boxes, each containing one of those previous summers, each open for me to peer into. Enough about that. Back to the summer of now. Walking down the street, I could every now and then catch a glimpse of the tail and fins of the dolphin still sitting on my head.
I want to say it was grade school when I last saw a dolphin at the aquarium.
Not when my daughter had been in grade school, mind you. When I had. Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad idea, going down to the aquarium again. With the whole family, of course.
Ho 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 ho! An aquarium, you say?
You ever been?
I have not, but I did see one in the television.
Hmm.
Perhaps I could bring her along too, if the time allowed it. Walking down the street, I was surprised just how many of the people I passed by had to do a double take as they noticed what I had on my shoulders. If I was being honest, I found it kind of funny. Not only was there a dolphin on land, that dolphin had a face popping out from its mouth. What was there not to like?
Hey, dolphin, say something.
I urged her, hoping it made the time it was taking the traffic lights to change feel shorter. She might have been a freeloader, but the stuff she talked about was often highly interesting. I'd already learned 30 different facts about space, and that had been on a single trip to the supermarket. My husband, on the other hand, did not seem nearly as impressed.
How about we continue that conversation from yesterday?
What conversation might that have been?
I honestly can't remember either.
I laughed.
Well, just talk about something, and we'll pretend like it's the same topic.
Very well then. I shall tell you the story of Sho feeding me fish food the other day.
That's not about space.
It still sounded reasonably interesting, however, and so I let her continue. Following a span of time which felt much shorter than it had been in reality, we found ourselves standing on the steps of our trusty local supermarket. The air inside felt nice and cool, and smelled only slightly of fish. It made my skin tickle as I breathed it in, and caused my feet to feel as light as a pair of feathers.
Mommy! Mommy! The candy corner is over there!
We're not going there today.
Oh.
I could hear the dolphin let out a grumble of protest as we went around the vegetable section, and long after, she lifted her fin and pointed it ahead.
The candy corner is over there, Mommy.
Hello, I'd like to change my navigator.
This must have been one of those Newfoundland junk inventions. A navigator that pointed towards where the navigator itself wanted to go. On a second thought, that was kinda like me, wasn't it?
Speaking of which, there.
The dolphin had sneakily gotten off my shoulders, and was now on the floor trying to push my feet towards the candy section. Well, if that's how bad she wanted it, I grabbed her by the back of her neck and carried her there. And oh boy, did that seem to make her delighted. It'd been years since I last experienced this feeling. These days, not even my younger daughter will come with me to do grocery shopping. I found myself struck with a strong sense of nostalgia, and I couldn't help but grow a bit ticklish. So that's what it was, huh? I gave her fin a poke.
the matter?
Nothing.
Passing by the milk counter, I met eyes with the old woman who was always working there. She was quite short, and so, without leaning in, all I could see of her was the top of her cap.
Hey, yo.
I decided to take the initiative, upon turning into a high school baseball player in the progress. As for the woman, she appeared to be more interested in dolphins sitting on my shoulders.
How are you not burning alive wearing that thing?
Ho ho ho. Believe me, she's nice and cool.
Not too cold, but not too warm. But just the right amount. Pretty much exactly the temperature of almond jelly,
Hello!
said the dolphin to the old woman. The two of them had already grown to know each other quite well.
Oh, you sure are a friendly little one, aren't you?
I'm good friends with Mommy.
That's unusual.
Is it? I don't think there's anything wrong with being friends with your mother.
Well, mothers obviously love their children unconditionally. How did that work the other way around? What kind of relationship was the end goal there? Was there something that they were after? I found myself wondering about that for a few moments. The conclusion I ultimately reached was that if my daughter wanted to be friends with me, that was a-okay with me. I'd never even given her girlfriend candidate consideration. We left the meal aisle behind, with the dolphin once again planting herself on top of my head. It was quite a unique sensation, having a cloud of blue float above you.
Is it weird for us to be friends, Mommy?
Nope, not at all.
A wide grin appeared on her face.
Friends!
I could sense great joy in the way in which she tapped my head with her fins.
Friends. Whatevs.
You sound just like Shimamura.
Well, I was Shimamura. Having paid for the groceries, I placed a shopping cart on a desk and started moving the things inside into my bag. Or, well, at least I tried. In reality, lowering my head in this way caused the tail of the dolphin to slap me across the face, making the whole ordeal utterly impossible.
Get off when I pack groceries.
Okay.
As commanded, the creature slid off my back, so she could stand on her own 2 feet too. Most dolphins couldn't. I had to imagine. With the girl standing there in silence, staring at me, I found myself unable to resist the temptation. I pulled out a daikon and lifted it up in front of her.
What?
Her fins shot up. Then they fell down again.
Oh! Ooh!
This time backwards. Knowing that she was just reacting randomly made me like it even more. Why? Because I was quite the random person myself. Stopping only for a moment to entertain this little alien, I finished with the groceries.
Alright, back you go.
Waha!
Showing just as much joy as she had with the daikon, the girl swiftly hopped onto my back.
That reminds me, you never talk about your parents.
A puzzled sound left her tiny mouth. It was as if she couldn't comprehend what I was trying to say.
You spend all day at our house. I would kinda like to meet your parents too.
As a parent myself, I couldn't help but be a little curious.
My Mommy and Daddy go on.
Huh?
Oh, which ones?
Oh,
This was starting to get quite complicated. Now, I definitely wanted to see them. The dolphin spent the way back home on top of my head as well, flapping her arms around about as I walked. Normally oppressive veil of summer was nowhere to be left. Almost as if the tiny creature was sucking away the excess heat around us. My, how convenient. I stopped in front of the railway crossing and scanned the nearby stores to see which ones were still open. Alright,
this cafe is slightly fancier than normal, but let's try it.
Fancy like this?
the dolphin proceeded to do a fist bump. How funny! Both the way she acted and saw the world reminded me so much of my daughters when they've been little.
It does say eyes here on the sign.
Super fancy.
Oh, the alien laughed as she admired the culture of Earth. Huh, what a cultureful day this has become. Walking inside the cafe, I was surprised to see no more than 2 tables. Not that there would have been room for any more. It was clear that this place had been in business for years. In terms of interior design, brown stood by far as the dominant color, though I always had a hard time telling if that was because everything was made out of wood, or if it was simply time taking its toll. It was as if someone had taken a whole bunch of furniture and placed them in a cave. On second thought, that didn't sound half bad. A cave at least would have offered an escape from the burning heat of summer.
Welcome!
I decided to shout out loud before whoever it was running this place had an opportunity. That someone turned out to be an older gentleman, popping his head out from behind the counter. The look on his face could perhaps be best described as that of disappointed shock. Pretty much exactly what I'd expected.
Looks like today I had a customer. Pretty nice, huh?
Did you ever get annoyed by the sound of your own voice?
Nope. Why?
Huh, I'm a little jealous. No, let's see here.
The man shifted his attention towards the dolphin.
Never have I been greeted by a dolphin before. Hello to you, too.
It was worth living to this age, he added. Wish my goals in life were that easy to achieve.
I always did suspect that you were a weirdo, but to think that you have a fish for a daughter.
Oh, you didn't know? My husband is half a merman.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Well, not that dolphins were actually fish.
You can call me Takama Yashiro.
No, that's an interesting name.
Interesting indeed. Had I even heard her full name before? If so, I must have forgotten. I certainly didn't call her by it. Whereas the faces of people easily stayed in my mind, names were a different story altogether. Even when it came to people like little Adachi's mom, I could barely remember them. What was it again? Ooh. Oh. Oka? Yes, Oka. An elegant name for an elegant person.
What a parent you are, seriously.
Sorry. Now then, order what you'd like.
I said to the dolphin. Actually, what did dolphins drink? Seawater, perhaps?
When you go to a fancy cafe, you've gotta get a frappuccino.
You know what that is? My, I'm shocked.
Hee. Daddy ordered that from the television yesterday.
Still, I don't think they got those here.
What?
Take a look around you. Do you see any fraps, pooks, or chinos?
Maybe if you could find a puck if you really strain your eyes. But the other two? No way! They sounded like something you'd see sitting in front of a daughter coffee.
Big talk for a woman as far removed from frappuccinos as possible.
Excuse me? I'll have you know that I drink tea with a high school girl every single day.
That wasn't even a lie. Now then, enough about frappuccinos.
Want the shaved ice? I feel like that might be something you'd like.
Pretty sure you never tried one. Certainly not at our place. The only question was, did this cafe even serve shaved ice? Given that they had a banner hanging outside all year long with that character for ice printed on it, I imagine that they must have.
Are those fancy?
Everything here is.
Oh, very well then. One shaved ice, please.
Coming right up.
So, they had them. Whew, what a relief.
Pork curry here.
Oh, hello, pork curry. Would like a nice coffee?
No pork? Boo!
The man proceeded to wave his hand at me. It was as if telling me to go sit down. Once at the table, the dolphin somehow completely nailing the landing into her seat. Impressive. Though I've never seen her train, the girl appeared to be quite acrobatic too. Perhaps I should take her to the aquarium to perform? Then again, I had a feeling like tomorrow she'd show up as a giraffe or a tiger or something. Even the fish tank we had at home was too small for anything but the titular fish to swim in. Yeah, no doubt it was going to work. Moving on.
Here I am, spending time at a fancy cafe. I have become quite the earthling, haven't I?
Giggling with her arms crossed, the dolphin for some reason came across as quite proud of herself. This reminded me, why had she come to Earth in the first place? For simple sightseeing? Or was there another reason? Placing my bag onto the floor, I proceeded to fix my eyes upon her. Staring into her eyes, I could see it in all of its glory, as clear as the day around me. Space. A whirlpool of unknown galaxies. Stars being formed and then fading away. Endless rays of light, bouncing around, forming complex patterns before being absorbed into the blackness of her pupils. And yet, even her pupils were not the end. I could see them in new light, a new image of space. What was the word this reminded me of? Cosmic? Strange? Or perhaps dolphin?
You're quite a strange little creature, you know that?
Ho. Not as strange as you, Mommy.
What's that supposed to mean?
She was the dolphin politely sitting at a fancy cafe, whereas I was merely acting as her mother. And yet, I was the weird one? How? Then again, I bet that'd be what my husband would say too were I to ask him for his opinion. Actually, that reminded me. Guess what he had called me the other day? Avant-garde.
Going back to your parents, can you tell me more about them?
Not really. Thinking back, I'm not sure if I've ever had anyone I could call Mom and Dad.
Huh?
No mom? No dad? What was that about? I tried asking her to further explain, and the dolphin complied, presumably to kill time until her shaved eyes arrived.
In the past, we used to be a single individual. Then, when the world was born, we found ourselves there. I'm unsure how or why, because we were all split into 28 bodies. Our minds remained united at first, but eventually we began growing separate personalities. My consciousness was born quite late, so I don't know all the details, but that was what the others told me. I was also told that by the time the split was completed, none of us left no longer knew how to unite as one.
Huh. Well, that's silly.
Imagine taking a broken watch apart to repair it, only to find yourself unable to put it back together.
Yeah, we then gave up on trying to reunite and started wandering space instead.
That sounds very like you. Dazzling.
I drifted about, slept for a long time, ran around with a spear, and lived loving all.
Being fed shaved ice.
Ho!
The dolphin picked up a glass of water and drank it all. The remaining ice cubes let out a nice jingle.
If you've been there since the beginning of space, you must be pretty old.
Probably.
Around 680 years, yes. Though, like I said, my consciousness came to life quite late. If you want to count before that, you could also say that I am 800 million years old. Past that, there was also the brief period where I was dormant.
Dormant?
Yes, I ceased my operations for approximately 20,000 years as I focused on reconfiguring my particles.
Huh.
Ah, all these numbers were way too big for my head. Imagine if my bank account suddenly read like that. Now, wouldn't that be something?
And the next 800 million year? Are you still going to be around?
Most likely.
Does that mean that you're immortal then?
Immortal?
Imagine not only not dying, but also not growing older. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little jealous.
Yes, I think you could say that.
She nodded her tiny head. Huh. Despite her appearance, she was actually quite the impressive creature, wasn't she? My daughter sure had good sense bringing her home. But reminded me, Adachi was quite the weird girl too. Was there perhaps something about her that made her particularly apt at drawing in those types?
Is it weird being immortal?
There was that question again. Why was it that she was suddenly so curious about what was and what was not considered weird? Always say that she needed to keep a low profile. But what was with the animal costumes in that case? Was this all just some kind of an elaborate joke?
A little. From a human perspective, at least.
Good thing I'm not a human then.
Right. She was an alien. I gave her a quick once over just to be sure, and yeah, no matter how you viewed it, she did look the part.
I thought you were a dolphin.
And yesterday, she had been a jellyfish. The dolphin proceeded to flap her fins about before twisting her face into a grin.
That I am.
So it was a joke then? No, but... If we assume that it was true that she didn't have a mom or a dad, then that would mean that I get to keep being her mother? Right. We continued talking for a while, and soon enough, the old man brought in our order. An iced coffee for me, and a shaved ice for her. I knew from experience that the man was senile enough where he'd been sometimes bring you a steaming hot coffee when you ordered an iced one. But thankfully today, no such mistake had occurred. Nice and cool, like it was meant to be. As for her order, it was quite a bit more simple. There were no fruits, no cream, just a bunch of ice flakes in a glass bowl. Oh, and also 3 different types of syrup the man placed in front of the doll pen.
Put on whichever syrup you like.
Yay!
I thought you didn't give freebies.
My iced coffee didn't even come with milk!
Well, you see, lady, I happen to love dolphins.
The man proclaimed with a completely stoic expression on his face.
And me.
Not a fan of pork anymore, sorry.
Get well soon.
Could you put syrup into a coffee? Probably not a good idea, no. I shifted my attention towards the doll pen, only to find that following a brief moment of hesitation, she had decided to go with the blue syrup. The liquid poured down the icy mountain, coloring the previously transparent flakes in its hue. It was almost like a miniature version of what she was doing to the world.
To dig in now.
Please go ahead.
Oh, but do I need to pay you back in some way?
For some reason, she chose to say this sentence really slowly. Almost as if she thought I wouldn't be able to understand her otherwise.
Pay me back?
If there's something you'd like, please just say so. I might not look like it, but trust me, I am capable of some incredible things.
No, I don't trust you.
I wasn't even sure if she knew what cleaning up after yourself meant. I made her wash her plate after she ate, but I feared that she'd only break it.
Say what you want, and I will give it to you.
Well, I do have those same dreams that everyone has, like taking over the world and stuff. I just wonder, is that really something that can be given to you? Like, if someone would give me 9 trillion yens, that would obviously make me really happy, but it's not the same thing. Oh, I mean, not that I say no to that kind of money, but the world? This is too hard.
The dolphin stared at me with her mouth agape. The expression on her face was one of a person who did not understand a word of what I was talking about. Well, not that I blame her. It was a difficult thing to put into words. I suppose you could describe it as difference between the journey and the destination, or the process and the end product. These were exactly the kind of nonsense question that started to fill your mind as you grow older.
Well, whatever. I wish that the world would eventually be ruled over by me.
Oh!
You're still gonna have to pay for your food.
Huh? What's the point then?
Maybe I shouldn't take over the world then. When children had dreams, those had the potential to one day come true. Adults were happy just to be able to dream. That did still leave the 9 trillion yen. Though I really doubted it was a good idea to ask an alien for cash. For all I knew, she'd probably just photocopy the same bill a whole bunch of times and I'd go to jail for counterfeiting. Last year's Miss Eureka would be me.
I know. Let me have a taste of that shaved ice.
It had been just as many years that I'd tasted shaved ice as I'd last seen a dolphin. Not a bad deal at all, I figured.
That should do, right?
Besides, I was the one who had paid for it, so it wasn't like she could say no even if she wanted to. The dolphin paused for a moment, then grinned, picked up her spoon, and scooped a large amount of the icy treat.
I like that side of you, Mommy.
What side? Adashima Shorts 2. We did Christmas last year, so how about winter break this time? If only we had mutual hobbies. Then I would have something to text her about. I tried coming up with something, anything, yet nothing at all came to my mind. 2 whole days had passed since I had decided to take Shimamura. Between then and now, I had spent hours upon hours trying to come up with a topic that was both interesting and worthwhile, and most importantly, wouldn't make me look like a weirdo for us to talk about. Yet, my effort had borne no fruit. It was quite strange. Although I had not seen her for the entirety of winter break, I found myself unable to come up with a particular topic that I wanted to talk with her about. What did Shimamura enjoy? What were her hobbies? I buried my head into my pillow, trying to figure out an answer. Of course, I wouldn't be having any of these issues if I knew that. Perhaps we could talk about New Year's? That had just passed by. Then again, I doubt the conversation would go much beyond the amount of money we'd gotten from our parents. Speaking of my parents, I was starting to get worried that they would soon come knocking on my door if I spent any more time thinking about this. Sure, they mostly let me do my thing, but even they had their limits. With that in mind, I pulled out my phone and forced myself to type the following message.
Has anything interesting happened?
What a boring message. Even for me. I was more or less kicking the ball into Shimamura's court. Although at this point, what other option did I have? With the message now sent, I slowly placed the device into my pillow before diving under the sheets, head and all. If a watched pot never boils, I could only imagine the same was true for phones. This trick seemed to work, and soon enough the device rang. I immediately leaped out from underneath the sheets, grabbed my phone, and opened the message.
Not really. Smiley face.
That was it? What?
Smiley face?
Had she perhaps attempted to type an actual smiley face, but her phone auto-corrected had messed up and she couldn't have been bothered to go back and fix it? Consider her personality, that most certainly seemed like a real possibility. It definitely fit my perception of her.
Huh, my perception of her.
While this message perfectly encapsulated Shimamura in my mind, I had to wonder, how did she see it? More precisely, what was her perception of me? And no, before you leap into conclusion, I didn't mean that in any sort of weird way. Wondering why I felt the need to be making these sort of excuses, I went ahead and asked her.
Say, Shimamura, How do you see me?
I paused for a few moments before finally hitting the send button. I wonder, would I have done that to someone else? Or was it specifically because I was talking with Shimamura that I had decided to think twice? Before I was able to find the answer to those questions, my phone rang once more. I grabbed the device and pulled it to me. A wave of anticipation and uncertainty ran through my mind as I opened the message.
Huh? What?
An emoji? What was that supposed to mean? I quickly messaged her back for clarification. Like before, I didn't end up having to wait long to receive my answer.
That's the face you make when you run away crying.
What? No, I don't think so.
I shook my head at the screen repeatedly as if she could see it. Naturally, she didn't. What did happen, however, was that I received a new message.
Here's a better picture.
This one came to touch me. It was a drawing of a cartoon version of myself running away with tears flowing down her cheeks and had her hand held high. And yes, she was making the face. All the while crying.
Shimamura!
The background was, for whatever reason, a grassy plain, with butterfly forming a circle around a giant whirlpool of a sun. In the middle of it all stood me. Wait, that part looked a lot different from the rest. Had she perhaps drawn this thing with her sister? I stared at the drawing hard. This was how Shimamura saw me. This was...
Nobita. Nobi?
Did she see me the same way Doraemon saw Nobita when the latter ran to him in tears? Surely not. No way. No. I once more pulled the sheets over my head in a desperate attempt to deny this conclusion. As my skin rubbed against the rough fabric, I could feel it glowing slightly warm. The boomerang from earlier was still sitting on my shelf. I shot a quick glance towards it before making Shimamura's drawing my phone's wallpaper. Was there anyone else in this world who would do that? Probably not. No. That thought passed my mind in form of a gust of cold wind, perfectly refreshing my burning skin.
Shark.
The end.
Shark.
Shaku.
Shaku!
Stop it.
Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next time.
Alright.
All right, everyone, take care. Thank you. Thank you or something.
Thank you.
Bye.
Danke.
Shaku.
Shark.
Shaku you.
Shark.
Thank you.
Shark.